We're going to share the Gemara. Okay, we're discussing the 4 different Rosh Hashanahs that we have on the Jewish calendar. The one coming up, Mirz Hashem, is only one of the 4 Rosh Hashanahs, and that's the most consequential one for the vast majority of people. There are other different Rosh Hashanahs which take place at different times of the year. Now, it's not necessarily a Rosh Hashanah in regards to the idea of being judged, which everyone is judged on the 1st of Tishrei, Rosh Hashanah. So in regards to doing Teshuvah and in regards to returning to Hashem, that is definitely the most consequential one. We're speaking about Rosh Hashanah halachically only regarding when to count a year, as a second year, as a third year, as a fourth year, as we brought the example from different documents, historical documents in the back of the Karda. You always find that you count, we're signing this document in this year of creation, or this year of the common era, this year of the reign of this monarch. And we don't count the reign of a monarch from a day they became king. You count it from the 1st of Nisan. And if they became a king one day before Rosh Chodesh Nisan, then they start their second year on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. And if they became the king on the 1st of Nisan, so then they're staying their full year all the way till the next year. And the first year continues for a while. This is purely, Yassi, Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi.
Ma nishma, Yassi.
Baruch Hashem, toda, ma tovcha.
Baruch Hashem. You know, from everyone over here, your name is the name of a king. Yosef was a king.
Yeah, I'm very lucky, very fortunate.
Yeah, everyone else is an angel. It's a lion, but the one who's actually king, or a prophet, is Yosef. The new year of the king begins on the 1st of Nisan. Why do we count from the 1st of Nisan? So we established that we want to quantify a certain date. Why the 1st of Nisan? In order that it shouldn't change from king to king. If you look through Navi, sometimes you had a king who was a king for only 3 months before he was assassinated, he was killed, he was replaced. Sounds a lot like power struggles and things that were going on happened back then too. Shalom Aleichem, Reb Pinchas, thank you for joining. And Moshe. And we choose one date to say this is the day that the year of the king's reign. It should be standard. How do we know to choose a certain day? Which day of the calendar, which day should we choose for dating documents? Now, the reason why we write the kings, mention the king in every document is to stay in good terms with the king. There's no freedom of speech where like today, where you could criticize those in power, and you wanted to stay in good terms with the king. Every document had to be dated with the king, and it was a compliment to say the king is in power for longer than it actually was. That we choose Rosh Chodesh Nisan, we're going to follow that now in the Gemara. And Gemara is going to bring the source where it discusses where we have a pasuk. We're going to bring a verse from Melachim, Book of Kings, the very first chapter, the very beginning of Melachim, and it will be saying the year that Shlomi HaMelech became king. Now, Shlomi HaMelech became a king on Shavuos. That's when his father passed away. There was a very large ceremony to coronate him, to anoint him as a king. Although in truth, he was already anointed as a king slightly before, already during the day of David HaMelech's funeral, the day after Shavuos, which was on Ches Sivan, the 8th of Sivan. His brother tried getting power, becoming a king, and when they found out about it, the Navi, the prophet, went right away and made a very big parade and coronated and anointed Shlomi HaMelech with the oil. If you go to the old city of Yerushalayim, the city of David, they have excavated, they found a place which in all probability is a place where Shlomi HaMelech was actually coronated as a king. You're supposed to do it by a river, by water, to show how water flows forever, and this king will last forever. We're going to learn from Shlomi HaMelech, who became a king in the month of Sivan, right after Shavuos, and we still count the year of his reign, not according to when he became a king, but rather from Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So look at the Gemara inside. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan. If you have Daf Beis, I don't have my art scroll with me, but if you have an art scroll Gemara, it should be in 2b 2, I would say. Minayin l'malachim she'ein moinin lahem ela minisan. Line starts off with Kuf Mem Lamed. Where do you know that the new year of the king starts on the 1st of Nisan, Rosh Chodesh Nisan? Why is that the first new year for counting the king for his new year of reign? So Gemara answers, Shenemar, as it says, Vayihi bishmonim shana v'arba meya shana letzeis b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. It says the Jews left Egypt, they came to Eretz Yisrael, they came to the Holy Land, they were 310 years or 380 years, they had a Mishkan in different places. And then Shlomi HaMelech said, this is not tenable anymore. He was the first Jewish king, which was a king over the entire nation, without any wars, because until that point, Shaul was a king on the whole Jewish people, but he was only king for 2 years, and the whole time he was fighting wars with the Plishtim, chasing David HaMelech. David HaMelech was a king, but he was constantly in wars with his enemies. Shlomi HaMelech was a son, became king at age 14. And Shlomi HaMelech told himself, how is this right that I am living in such a beautiful palace and Hashem, Aaron, is in a temporary home? He decided to build a beautiful structure, the first Beis HaMikdash. Right? Vahi b'shmonim shana was in the 480th year when the Jews came out of Egypt. Bashana HaRavius, in the 4th year of Shlomi HaMelech's, King Solomon's reign over the Jewish people. B'chodesh Ziv, in the month of Ziv. Who's Ziv? Ziv is a famous name. But Ziv is chodesh hashani limlech Shlomi al Yisrael. The word Ziv means a ray, a shine. The second month of the year, Iyar, is called the month Chodesh HaZiv, Chodesh HaSheni. The first month of the year, Nisan, is a Chodesh HaRishon. So Chodesh Ziv, the month of the Ray, is a Chodesh HaSheni. Limlech Shlomi al Yisrael, which is the second month that Shlomi HaMelech became a king over the Jewish people. Vayiven habayis laHashem. And he built a house, he started building the Beis HaMikdash. Now, some of this pasuk just doesn't flow with each other. It was in the 480th year the Jews left Egypt. In the 4th year that King Shlomo was a king over the Jewish people. In the month of Iyar, he began to build the house for Hashem. The building of the Beis HaMikdash didn't take place in the second month after Shlomo HaMelech became king. It became in the 4th year that he was king, in the second month of the year that he was king. From here we see that the second month of the 4th year is Chodesh Iyar. That means the first month of the 4th year was Chodesh Nisan, the month before, the month of Nisan. But if Shlomo HaMelech became king in the month of Sivan, how could it say that the 4th year of him being a king began in the month of Nisan? How does that work? How could it be that the second month of the 4th year of his reign is a month of Iyar if he became king in Sivan? Answers, so from here the Gemara Yechanan learns, Makish Malchus Shlomo Liatzias Mitzrayim. We must say that a king begins his count as being a king from the month of Nisan. So every year begins a month of Nisan. So although Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, became a king in the month of Sivan, which is the 3rd month of the year, when it hits Nisan, about 10 months later, 9.5 months later, he begins his 2nd year. And we learned that from Yetzias Mitzrayim, that when the Jews left Egypt, Ma Yetzias Mitzrayim Minisan, the Jewish people left Mitzrayim in a month of Nisan. We left on the 15th of the day of 15th day of the month of Nisan, but the month that we left is in Nisan. And just like if we want to count how many years is it since we left Mitzrayim, since we left Egypt, since we left the Egyptians behind, then haven't gone back. When I was in Eretz Yisrael, in Hebron, so I got a tramp. You know, everyone stands on the road, gets a hitchhike, and we met one person who gave us a ride to somewhere. Lives on one of the small yishuvim, small settlements. Asked him if he ever left Eretz Yisrael, ever left Israel in his life, and he said, once. He says in the Yom Kippur War, he went to Egypt as part of when he was in the army. It's the only time he left Eretz Yisrael. We left Mitzrayim, Egypt, in the month of Nisan. And if you want to say how many months it is, we say we always left, just like the leaving of Egypt happened in Nisan, Malchus Shlomo min Nisan. You count the years of the reign of Shlomo HaMelech from the 1st month of the year, from the month of Nisan. And therefore, it makes sense to say that the month of Iyar is the 2nd month of the 4th year of the reign of Shlomo HaMelech, because you begin in Nisan just like Yetzias Mitzrayim, and that is why the verse, the pasuk over here says, it was in the 480th year since the Jews left Mitzrayim in Egypt, that in the 2nd month of the 4th year of Shlomo HaMelech's reign, and he began to build a house for Hashem. Because you count the beginning of the months of the king from Nisan, just like you do it for Yetzias Mitzrayim. And the Yetzias Mitzrayim Gufa, and Yetzias Mitzrayim itself, how do we know that we count it from the month of Nisan? Dilma Mitishrei Meninan. Maybe, why don't we count it from the month of Tishrei? Tishrei is Rosh Hashana, the beginning of the creation of mankind, the creation of the world. So why don't we count the years of leaving Mitzrayim, of leaving Egypt, count it from Nisan? It's a type of a question which is only a strong question if there is a proof, a reason. Rosh Hashanah for the new year is in Tishrei. When we became a new nation, we're born, maybe we should also count it in Tishrei. Why specifically do we count the years how many years we left Egypt, starting from the month of Nisan. And for answers the Gemara, Lo yisolka daitach. This is not a logical answer, logical thing to say. That you should begin counting, you should hold count. How many years has it been since we left Egypt, counting from the month of Tishrei? Tichsiv. Because we see another case when Aaron passed away, that although it was in the month of on the 5th of Av, which is the 5th month from Nisan, it's called Shnas Ha'arba'im, the 40th year since we left Egypt. Now, we left Egypt in the month of Nisan. Aaron, Moshe Rabbeinu's brother, the high priest, the great lover of all Jewish people, regardless who they are, what they've done. Aaron loved them unconditionally. He did not. He tried making peace with them. He tried pushing them off from sinning, from the Chet HaEgel, the golden calf, as much as he can. And Aaron, he passed away. We had this in Parshas Chukas, where in one Parsha, Miriam and Aaron both passed away. And it says, when Aaron passed away, Vaya'al Aaron HaKohen El Hora Hora Pi Hashem. Aaron followed the command of Hashem, and he ascended Hora Hor. Today it's in Jordan. If you want to go visit there, there's groups that go there to visit. Even now during the war, there's still groups that go there unofficially. Visit the Kever, the burial place of Aaron HaKohen. It's very close to Petra in Jordan. Don't go there with too big of a group because it sticks out. But there are people who go visit there all the time. And it says, and he went up to Harahar, Api Hashem, according to the command of Hashem, and he passed away. Pi Hashem, it says, through a divine kiss, his soul left his body, not through the Malach HaMavis, not through the angel of death. Vayam Hashem, and Aaron died, in which year? B'shnas ha'arbayim l'tzeis b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. B'chodesh ha'chamishi b'echal ha'chodesh. On Rosh Chodesh, on the Hay of, the 5th of the month of Av, we during the summer, we actually mentioned that special day. This is the only yahrzeit it's mentioned anywhere in the Torah. Not even Moshe Rabbeinu's yahrzeit is mentioned in the Torah. Not Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Yosef, the Shvatim, the tribes. Nobody's yahrzeit in the Torah is mentioned besides right over here. Besides for Aaron HaKohen, who says he passed away on the 5th Hay of, on the 5th day of the month of Av. And in a very simple answer, very logical answer that you could explain even to a little child, makes sense. It says, when it says the entire Bnei Yisrael, Kol Beis Yisrael, the men, the women, and the children, all mourned for Aaron. Everyone loved him because he was everyone's friend. He was so nice and kind, and everyone loved him. Everyone cried for him. It was a nationwide mourning. When Moshe passed away, it says, and the Jewish people cried for him, Bnei Yisrael, which means the men cried for him. The women and children didn't cry as much because he didn't relate personally to them as much. He was a teacher of Torah, and that was his main task. Although he was everyone's leader, but the great admiration and love that everyone had was reserved more for Aaron than for Moshe. Each person has a different role. Right? People could like the night activity director, but the head counselor is the one who has to set the rules. So being at the whole it's a nationwide occurrence. 30 days, everyone was mourning, crying for Aaron. It would make sense that the next year, this is something that everyone remembers. But if it's something that only the men really come commemorated, which was the passing of Moshe Rabbeinu, which was mainly the men, of course, everyone did, so that would be particularly, it wouldn't be as memorable the next year. So this is the only yahrzeit written in the Torah. Now, the Jewish people left Mitzrayim, Dovi, what day? Oh, he's not here. They left on March 4th, right? As Rabbi Ruddle always says, because they marched forth from Egypt. But the Hebrew day they left was the 15th of Nisan, 2448. They left Egypt. Now, they entered Mitzrayim, they entered Eretz Yisrael, they entered the Holy Land almost 40 years later. You take off 40 years, they entered Eretz Yisrael on Yud Beis Nisan, the 12th of Nisan. Because after Moshe Rabbeinu passed away in the 7th of Adar, they cried for him for 30 days. Then on Zion Nisan, on the 7th day of Nisan, they were told to prepare to go to Eretz Yisrael in 3 days. They ended up entering Eretz Yisrael, pretty sure in Yud Beis Nisan. So it wasn't even a full, complete 40 years minus a couple days, that the Jewish people actually, from when they left Mitzrayim until they entered Eretz Yisrael. However, it says we were there for 40 years. Why? Because we count the years that the Jews left Egypt from Rosh Chodesh Nisan, from the 1st of Nisan. So continuing in the Gemara. So it was actually, where was it? Yud Beis Nisan. I think Yud Beis Nisan was a bris of Avram Avinu. Yud Nisan was the day the Jews crossed the Yam Suf, the first yahrzeit of Miriam Hanaviyah. So the first day the Jewish people were actually in Eretz Yisrael was Yud Aleph Nisan, 11th of Nisan. And it says, B'chodesh, in the 40th year from when the Jews left Egypt, in the 5th, the month of Av, that's when Aaron went up to pass, that's when he died. Uksiv, and it says, Vayhi b'arbayim shana, b'ashtei asher chodesh b'echad l'chodesh, diber Moshe. And on Rosh Chodesh Shvat, Moshe Rabbeinu, as Rabbi Darren loves to say, started bringing with the Jewish people. He began to speak to the Jewish people, his last final word to the Jewish people before he passed away, on Rosh Chodesh Shvat, the 1st of Shvat, and then it went all the way till Zayin Adar, till the day he passed away. And that was also in the 40th year. So the 40th year from when the Jews left Egypt includes a month of Av. It includes the month of Shvat. Midikari le ba'av. Midikari ba'av v'kari le shnas arba'im, in the month of Av. 10th month of the year. The Torah calls it the 40th year we left Mitzrayim. And midikari b'shvat v'kari le shnas arba'im. And you can say again the 10th month, starting from Nisan. Also calls it the 40th year. Miklal the Rosh Hashana lav Tishrehu. So then, counting the years from when we left Egypt cannot be the 1st of Tishrei, because the 1st of Tishrei is between these two dates. It's between, we have Av, Elul, then comes Tishrei, the 1st of Tishrei, and the 1st of Tishrei, if it would be a new year, it would start the 41st year. Or Aaron would have passed away in the 39th year. From the fact that these two dates, 6 months apart, month of Shvat and the month of Av are both called the 40th year. So therefore, we must say that the new year when you count the Jews leaving Egypt, we say this is a first year, second year, the 40th year from when the Jewish people left Mitzrayim, starts not from the month, not from Tishrei. It must be a different date. Which date do we count as the beginning of the new year for leaving Egypt? And so that's we're going to have in Mirz Hashem. Tomorrow we'll get to that. Answer is Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Why do we get to Rosh Chodesh Nisan? From that we'll continue this Gemara tomorrow, Mirz Hashem. For the meantime, we'll continue now with Veyaddata Moskva. If anybody would like an actual sefer, it's very enjoyable Geschmack reading. Idolatry. Serving idols. Could you see the mimer on the screen? Not sure what you can see exactly. I'll make a new share just so you make sure you could see it. There it is. So we're discussing the generation of the separation, Dar HaFlaga. The ones who made a big tower, Migdal Bavel, Tower of Bavel. Bavel literally means mixed up. All the nationalities were all mixed up, all joined together in this one big valley, trying making a new civilization. Everyone should be the same. Follow us. And to rebel against Hashem, and Hashem descended and changed their languages and spread them out over the entire world. Now, their mistake wasn't a mistake that happened just back then. We'll bring it out. We'll explain. Because we said they were haflaga, they separated between Havaya, Hashem's name of miraculous names, of godly light, spirituality, great intensity, and Elokim, and they separated nature. Now, the 10 Commandments, Aseret HaDibrot. Right, the first of the 10 Commandments is, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am God, your God, who took you out of Egypt. Believe in Hashem. Second of the 10 Commandments is, you shall not have any other gods in front of me. And that right away makes that, let's say, other religions which believe in Hashem and other gods, however that works, doesn't work. Because nothing has power in this world besides for Hashem. And nothing could help, and nothing could harm, nothing could do good, nothing could do bad. Nothing besides Hashem. Now, do you know anybody today, maybe some religions in the Far East, maybe Yossi knows some people who went all the way off to India. Over there in places like that, it's much more common to see. But at least over here, in Europe and America, and the so-called enlightened West, when anybody bows down to figures of wood, of stone, of metal, like the pagans did thousands of years ago, we're much more sophisticated than them. We're much more technologically advanced than them. You do see it out there, but not as common. You do unfortunately see a lot of missionaries or people which do, want to put their own twist. You unfortunately do see it. But most people today, their struggles are not if there's one God or multiple gods, or there's a God for every day of the year. Most people, the struggle is, I get an Apple, I get a Samsung. Should I get a Mercedes or BMW or Honda, Toyota? Should I fly Delta? Should I fly American? It's not really relevant to most people. Don't bow down to idols. Let's not even worry about this commandment. Let's only worry about the other 9 commandments. Don't be jealous, don't kill, keep Shabbos, honor your parents. However, that's only in a very peripheral, outside view. Look at the second of the Aseres Zibros of the 10 Commandments a little closer, and you realize that we're just like our far-off ancestors who bow down to idols in a certain sense, certain way, even more, God forbid, than them. Because we're all actually guilty of this idea of serving idols, as absurd as it sounds. Because it's not just saying that a piece of wood or a piece of stone actually has power over you, or a piece of plastic with a credit card that has power over you. It's a belief that universe has power, the nature has power. Serving idols isn't only serving a piece of stone, a statue. It's rather the rejection and the belief of Hashem. That anything else in the world has any type of power or choice over you, over anybody, besides for Hashem. Believing in Hashem is exclusive. Hashem is the only thing with power. And believing in any other influence is already Avodah Zarah, serving idols. When we say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, we're saying that not only that we believe in one God, but a Hashem who is one. That there's nothing else that exists besides Hashem. No person, no animals, no world, no universe. Everything is only a part and an extension of Hashem. Hashem is the only existence. And anything else to have any power other than Hashem is rejecting the Yichud Hashem, the unity of Hashem. That is the second of the 10 Commandments. You shouldn't have any other God. Elokim also means to judge. You should have no other power. Nobody could judge you. Nobody could do anything to you. Nothing has any choice or any power over you besides for Hashem. If you ever got a parking ticket or a speeding ticket, and you get a lawyer to represent you, and you say, "Oh, okay, I got the best lawyer. I have nothing to worry about now." Or, many people have doctor appointments. Say, "Okay, I got an appointment by the top doctor in the field. I have nothing to worry about." That's giving power to the lawyer or the doctor, like they have any, your fate is in their hands. How can that? That's already ascribing any bit of power to them, to something besides for Hashem. You know how many people say, if only I was a millionaire, a billionaire, trillionaire, you know what I could do? How many solutions I can make? People are worried, they're scared to walk out of their house till they get a vaccine. Or can't go anywhere till they get a phone call. It's making a statement that there's something that controls your life besides Hashem. So while in the olden times, our ancestors, while they may have served gold and silver and stones and statues, and it was clear cut, this is absolutely serving something else but Hashem. We have a much greater challenge today of serving human idols. An idol looking up to a celebrity, looking up to someone, giving them any power. This person is so smart. Hashem plays with us, if you want to put it in very crass terms, hide and seek. Meaning Hashem is always there in our life, but we don't always see him. Now, he does this on purpose. Hashem does this on purpose because if we would see Hashem, we wouldn't have any free choice except to believe in Hashem. Hashem chooses every single decision, makes every decision. It's approved and it's decided from Shamayim, from on high. No human and nothing else, no other creation has any power, no weather, no anything else has any power besides Hashem chooses to send their blessing, his blessing, through them, through this particular person, this particular thing. So if you want peace in Washington and you want peace in Washington, that's a lost case. I'm talking about peace in the Middle East, and it should come through Washington. It doesn't come from Washington, it comes through Washington. Therefore, if you want a true peace and you want them to help you out, you say, this is what we need. And this is a land given to us by Hashem, and there's no playing around. And you want to help with that vision, good. If it doesn't come through you, it will come through someone else. It comes through them, not from them. Someone makes it rich from Wall Street. It's not from Wall Street, it's through Wall Street. Someone is finally able to calm down because of the courts. No, it's through the courts, not from them. And in case you feel that Hashem is great and Hashem is not in control of everything, you should know that Hashem also pays the bills. Right? Take out any dollar bill and it says, in God we trust. Trust means when you jump off of a roof and the person told you could jump off, you'll be safe. Don't worry about it. You trust in them, even though you don't see how they're going to help you. That's trust. In God we trust, meaning it's not just something we know about, but we live with, we trust in it actively day to day. So those who leave everything in Hashem's hands will definitely see a lot of hatzlacha, success in everything they do. So if someone wants to give themselves a litmus test to see, let's take our pH levels, our shkacha pratis levels, to see if we believe in Hashem, or to see if we think that anything else but Hashem has any power over us, the universe, person, a phone call that we get, a paycheck that's behind, the bank calling with bad news. Let's see how we emotionally react to the crisis. And it's an avodah, it's an effort, and believing in Hashem and trusting in Hashem isn't natural to naturally always easy. It is natural, it's not always easy. If somebody stays calm under pressure and they turn to Hashem, they daven to Hashem, it shows that they believe that the universe doesn't have any power over them. A person becomes anxious, stressed, angry, shows they don't believe in Hashem because they attribute some type of power to the universe. So the error of the generation of the Dar Haflaga, The generation of separation was they served idols. They wanted to rebel against Hashem. We'll even see when we're going to the actual words, it wasn't even necessarily that they were serving at least all of them. There were many different groups. We said it was Bavel. Every civilization came together in order to build this huge project. Many of them, if you look what they wanted to accomplish, doesn't even seem so wrong. You can see the words, V'na'aseh lanu Shem. Let's make for ourselves a reputation. Let's make a name for ourselves. What will be a legacy? What will be our legacy? They wanted, they wanted that their legacy should be, we were these great people who built these great buildings. Let's have a legacy. They ascribed power to the laws of nature, and they had to be shown their error. And therefore, their neshamas, their godly, divine souls that gave them life, came back as a Jewish people born in Egypt, in servitude as slaves, serving idols, and we needed to be shown, the Jewish people in Mitzrayim, in Egypt, the error of their ways. And our neshamas, us, me, you, all of us, and everyone else who's living, and everyone's going to ever see this, because Mashiach's coming already, we are actually, we have the same neshamas, the same souls of the generation who left Mitzrayim, who left Egypt. So our nisayin, our one of our challenges, one of our main challenges, is in the same exact thing. To take a long look at ourselves, to see to what degree do we have the same mistake of the generation of the Dar Haflaga, of the great divide, great division. If we separate between Havaya, Hashem's almighty power, and Elikim, the laws of nature, we too are guilty then of the same thing, of Avodah Zarah. It's time to Elul, time to wake up from and face the real reality. So let's read inside what we just read outside. Amnam Inyan Haflaga. I made it larger, I just lost the place. Let's go back there. Here it is. Amnam Inyan Haflaga Ishem Mafir Chas V'Shalim Zewa Hipuch Legamri. The idea of the separation, where one separates between Hashem's almighty power, Shem Havaya Yud Kei Vav Kei, and Shem Elikim, which is the gematria, the numerical equivalent of the word Hateva, of the nature, and the name of Hashem, which is used whenever we talk about nature. We said only Elokim created. Miracles uses the name of Havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei. Zeu shenemar gabedar Haflaga. Regarding the generation of the Haflaga, the great division, it says, V'na'aseh lanu Shem. Let us make for ourselves a great name. That's what they wanted. Let's just open that up in a new tab. Chabad. Let's just make it large. It says the whole entire nation, right, the world was one language, and let's make a big tower. V'na'aseh lanu Shem, let us make for ourselves a name. So Hashem should not cause us to be separated ever again. So what the mistake was v'na'aseh lanu Shem, they wanted to make a great reputation for themselves. Isa Medrash Rabbah, Parshal Meches, Tani Dvei Rabbi Shmuel. Ein Shem El Avodah Zara. When it says, let us make for ourselves a great name, it also connotes or means idols, because that's a euphemism for serving idolatry. The Dara Flaga, the generation of the Tower of Babel, they worshipped false divinities. If Hashem's name of Havaya Yikei Vavke would shine on us without being restrained, it would be too overwhelming. We no longer be able to be independent beings. Ubir Inyanu. V'hine, Isbar La'el, previously we brought the Me'etzem Shem Havaya, from Hashem's name, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, which is a revelation, the almighty power of Hashem, we would never be able to create a world as it is now. Because the worlds would never be able to handle this great revelation. Nothing would be able to feel independent, and nothing would be able to be limited. If the teacher, if you have Einstein going into kindergarten and making all of his calculations on the board, I think you can see some of his boards, people preserve them, and without bothering to customize it, summarize it, the student will have absolutely no idea what the teacher is talking about. And if a student tries following, they're just going to become confused and overwhelmed. Whenever we see a miracle in the Torah, we will find the name of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, Hashem's divine name, 4 letters. Whenever Hashem is hidden in the facade of nature, in the Torah, we'll find the name Elokim, which is the name of science, nature. When describing the creation of the world, we use the word Elokim, Elokim. Because although creating the world where nothing existed can only happen with Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, the infinite light of Hashem, but if it would only began and ended with Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, it wouldn't have been physical. It would have been, like it says, Hashem, Kadosh Baruch Hu, Baina Olos, Machrivam. God creates worlds and destroys them constantly. Worlds, unlimited worlds, thousands, tens of thousands. These wouldn't be worlds that have a limit. It would be no beginning and no end, and they couldn't last. A limit, and as human beings who are created under the tight limits of time and space, we can't even imagine a reality without time or without space. Although as hard as we try to not pay attention to the clock, it always happens. But today I'm going to try paying attention to the clock. Although I do have a calendar up here on the wall against me, so not a clock. But we're limited by time, we're limited by space. And we're limited by Shem Elokim. In order to make a world as we know it, in order for there to be any type of being or existence where godliness is not open and revealed, and therefore would have free choice, and not just free choice, would have overwhelming odds stacked against following Hashem, that could only happen with the name of Elokim, with a veil, with a curtain. So Elokim, the name of Hashem, of of Elokim is very vital to create the world, the universe. So too, similarly, in spiritual realms, if the worlds would have been created straight from the name of Havaya Yudke Vavke, indeed the worlds would not have been able to survive, not have been able to last. And that is just like if you have, nowadays most devices are made to be able to handle all different types of powers, levels of electricity, whether you're 220, whether you're 110, 240. But it used to be that if it was in a different frequency, right, a different level, so then you go from European to American. If you didn't bring a converter, you could you could fry your entire device. You fry your stereo, your phones. Nowadays, most devices are made to be able to handle both types of electricity. If you buy something cheaper, probably still wouldn't be able to. You have to be able to be built. The device needs to be able to have something to be able to handle that type of revelation, that type of intensity. Obviously, if you take even a stronger device and you plug it straight into the power lines out running on the street, you wouldn't be able to handle that either. It would probably also fry the device. And if you take a larger device and you go into a stronger power, it wouldn't be able to handle. And take the most powerful device, put it close to the sun, it wouldn't be able to handle that energy either. One needs to be able, in order to be able to handle the energy, the output, you need to be able to have the capability of handling the input. In order to handle godliness, revelation of godliness, so the less physical, less coarse, and more refined and spiritually refined one works on themselves, so then they're able to handle more and more godly revelation. And it says a Shekhinah was in the first heaven, the second heaven, the third heaven. How could we understand that? You can understand that to mean as well, how does a person feel in afternoon when they're sitting at their cubicle at their office at work, compared to how they're feeling on a Shabbos or on Yom Kippur or in Kippur during the Ilah, when the gates of heaven are open, and everyone feels different on that day. According to how much we make ourselves able to handle, that's how much we can handle the revelation of Shem Havaya. And with this, I'm going to thank everybody for coming.